Can you stand on one leg for just 10 seconds? Or sit down on the floor and get back up without using your hands? These might sound like simple little challenges, something you'd try as a fun test with your grandchildren. But here's the surprising truth. According to recent studies, only about 5% of people over the age of 70 can do them. And that's not just a random statistic. It's a powerful sign of your body's true health. These small movements tell us far more than meets the eye. They reveal how well your brain, nerves, muscles, and balance systems are working together. And research shows that people who can pass these mobility tests tend to live longer, stay independent, and avoid serious injuries like hip fractures or dangerous falls. In other words, if you can do these things, you're not just in shape, you're aging well. But if you can't yet, don't worry. This video is going to show you exactly how to improve, step by step, no matter where you're starting from. In today's video, we'll break down why these two simple challenges, the 10-second one-leg stand and standing up without your hands, are being used by doctors and physical therapists worldwide to assess longevity, coordination, and strength. We'll explore the muscles involved, the science behind the movements, and why it's never too late to train your body to get better. Even if you haven't exercised in years, even if you've fallen before, even if you think, "Oh, that's not for me." And we'll also share real stories from seniors, just like you. People who couldn't pass the test at first, but after a few minutes, a day of gentle movement, saw real life-changing results. So stick with us, because this may be one of the most important videos you watch this year, not just for your muscles, but for your independence, your safety, and your future. I know you are a person who likes to watch videos quietly. If you have not liked and subscribed to the channel, now is a good time to do it because you are a kind person. If the video is helpful, press 1. If the video is not good enough or needs improvement, press 2. Thanks, everyone. Now let's get started. Number 1. Why these simple mobility tests matter more than you think. Mrs. Clara, a 79-year-old retired nurse from Michigan, had always considered herself relatively healthy. She took short walks each day, ate balanced meals, and kept up with her friends at the community center. But one afternoon, during a routine checkup, her doctor asked her to try something she hadn't done in years. "Clara, can you stand on one leg for 10 seconds? She chuckled and tried, but to her surprise, she wobbled, shifted her weight, and had to place her foot down after just 4 seconds. Then came the second request. "Can you sit down on the floor and stand back up again without using your hands?" Clara hesitated. It had been decades since she last tried. With effort and determination, she attempted the move, but had to push off the arm of a chair for support. Her doctor gently smiled and explained, "These little tests, they're not just balance games. They tell me how strong your body is, how well your nervous system works, and believe it or not, they help predict how long you might live." These two seemingly simple tasks, the one-leg stand and the sit-to-stand test, have become powerful tools in aging research. Studies have shown that seniors who can hold a single-leg stance for at least 10 seconds have significantly lower risks of falling, hospitalizations, and even premature death. Likewise, the ability to sit down on the floor and stand back up without using your hands is linked to better cardiovascular health, muscular endurance, and longevity. These tasks are not about showing off agility. They are about something deeper. They measure your body's ability to stabilize, coordinate, and recover. Essential functions that decline with age, often without us noticing until it's too late. The reason these tests matter so much is because they combine multiple systems in the body. To stand on one leg, your brain must coordinate balance. Your eyes must help orient your body in space. Your core and leg muscles must activate and stabilize you, and your joints, especially your ankles, knees, and hips, must respond quickly to small changes in position. If any one of these systems is lagging, the whole effort falls apart. The same goes for sitting and standing without using your hands. It requires not just strength in your thighs and glutes, but flexibility in your hips and knees, proper breathing, coordination, and enough balance to avoid toppling over. That's why these movements are such accurate indicators of physical resilience. If you can do them easily, your body is likely functioning well across the board. If you struggle, it doesn't mean you're weak. It means your body is quietly asking for support. Clara was shocked to learn that these simple movements were being used in clinics and longevity studies around the world. "Nobody ever told me that standing on one leg could predict how healthy I am," she said. And she's not alone. Most seniors have never been shown these tests, let alone guided on how to improve their results. But here's the empowering truth. These abilities can be trained and regained at any age. Your muscles can be strengthened, your balance can be rebuilt, and your confidence can return, sometimes faster than you'd expect. So if you've never tried these movements, try them today, carefully near a stable surface. Time yourself. Pay attention to how your body feels, not to judge or shame yourself, but to understand where you're starting from. And if you find them difficult, know this: you're not alone, and there is a clear path forward. In the next section, we'll dive deeper into the science and meaning behind the 10-second one-leg stand, and why this small act reveals so much about your brain, body, and future independence. Let's move on to number 2, the 10-second one-leg stand. What it reveals about your brain and body. Number 2, the 10-second one-leg stand. What it reveals about your brain and body. Mr. Allen, a 74-year-old former bus driver from Colorado, had always been steady on his feet. But one morning during a senior wellness workshop, the instructor asked the group to try a simple challenge. "Let's see how long you can stand on one leg without holding on to anything." Allen laughed, thinking it would be easy. But as soon as he lifted one foot, he began wobbling. By the 5th second, he lost balance and stepped down. Around him, a few others had managed to go longer, but many couldn't make it past 7 seconds. The instructor then explained something that caught everyone's attention. Recent studies have shown that the ability to stand on one leg for 10 seconds or more is linked to better brain health, longer life expectancy, and significantly lower risk of falls and fractures. This wasn't just a balance game. It was a full body and full brain performance test. At first glance, standing on one leg may seem like something simple, a task for kids or yoga lovers. But in reality, it's a movement that requires the integration of multiple systems inside the body, working together with precision. The brain must stay focused and aware of the body's position in space, a function known as proprioception. The inner ear's vestibular system must detect shifts and send immediate signals to the brain to make corrections. The eyes must help with spatial orientation. Meanwhile, your muscles, especially in the legs, hips, ankles, and core, must constantly adjust even in the tiniest ways to keep you upright. And all of this has to happen in real time, within milliseconds. If one system lags behind, if the nerves fire too slowly, or the leg muscles are too weak, or the brain is distracted, the body quickly loses balance. That's why this small challenge can reveal so much about your overall health. What's particularly important for seniors is that poor performance on this test has been linked to higher risk of cognitive decline, slower reflexes, and even earlier mortality. A 2022 study published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine followed over 1,700 older adults for several years. Those who could not hold a one-leg stance for 10 seconds had an 84% higher risk of death from all causes compared to those who could. This doesn't mean that failing the test is a death sentence. Far from it. But it is a clear signal that the body's systems may be aging faster than expected, and that action should be taken to strengthen those connections. For Mr. Allen, this was a wake-up call. He had always assumed that balance was something you either had or you didn't, not something you could train. But the instructor showed the group a few simple exercises they could do daily to improve their one-leg stability, such as heel-to-toe walking, holding onto a chair while lifting one leg, and practicing mindfulness to stay focused. Within just 2 weeks of daily effort, Allen was able to hold a single-leg stance for 9 seconds. And by the end of the month, he hit 12. But more than that, he noticed something else. He was walking more confidently, feeling steadier when getting out of bed, and even sleeping better. He said, "It wasn't just my balance that improved, it was my belief in myself." The one-leg stand may be simple, but it is powerful. It's a window into your brain-body connection, your muscular control, and your neurological health. The best part? You can improve it no matter your age. And doing so doesn't just help you pass a test. It helps you walk through life with greater confidence, stability, and strength. Next, we'll take a closer look at another test that is just as revealing: the ability to sit down and stand up from the floor without using your hands. It might sound small, but it can be one of the best predictors of independence in your 70s, 80s, and beyond. Let's continue with number 3, sitting down and standing up without hands, a test of independence. Number 3, sitting down and standing up without hands, a test of independence. Mrs. Dolores, an 80-year-old grandmother from Arizona, lived alone and took great pride in her independence. She cooked her own meals, tended to her garden, and even helped look after her great-grandson a few days a week. But one day, while reaching down to pick something off the floor, she realized she couldn't get back up without pushing herself off the nearby table. It was a simple moment, but one that left her deeply unsettled. When did I stop being able to do that, she wondered. It wasn't pain that stopped her, nor a major illness. It was a quiet loss of strength, coordination, and confidence. And it made her wonder how long she could realistically live on her own. What Dolores didn't know at the time was that this exact movement, the ability to sit down on the floor and stand back up without using hands, is one of the strongest indicators of long-term independence, mobility, and even life expectancy in older adults. The sit-to-stand test may seem like an ordinary challenge, but it evaluates multiple systems all at once: muscle strength, joint flexibility, balance, and coordination. When a person sits down on the floor, their center of gravity shifts. Standing back up requires powerful engagement from the thighs, hips, and core muscles, as well as stability in the ankles and knees. It also requires the brain to quickly process positioning and command precise muscular actions without hesitation. For those under 40, this task is often effortless. But as we age, even subtle declines in strength, reaction time, or joint range of motion can make this movement much more difficult, and in some cases, impossible without support. Researchers in Brazil conducted a long-term study involving more than 2,000 participants aged 51 to 80. They found that individuals who were able to sit down and stand up from the floor without using their hands had a significantly lower risk of death from all causes over the next 6 years. Why? Because this movement reflects a person's total physical resilience, the kind that keeps you safe when you trip, lets you get up after a fall, or allows you to bend down and tie your shoes without strain. Losing the ability to perform this movement doesn't mean you're fragile today, but it may mean that your body is quietly becoming more vulnerable, unless you intervene. For Mrs. Dolores, that moment was the start of a change. Her doctor referred her to a physical therapist who assessed her muscle strength and balance. They began a routine that included squats to a chair, leg raises, and gentle core exercises. They practiced standing up from a seated position using minimal support, gradually reducing the need to push with her arms. Within a few weeks, Dolores began noticing improvements, not just in her ability to rise from the floor, but in how steady she felt while walking, how much easier it was to carry groceries, and how confident she felt navigating her own home. The ability to sit down and stand up without hands isn't about impressing anyone. It's about keeping your body functional, adaptable, and strong enough to support your life on your terms. If you've avoided sitting on the floor because you're afraid you won't be able to get back up, you're not alone. But avoiding the movement only makes it harder over time. Instead, try practicing it in a safe space, next to a sturdy chair or with someone nearby. Even if you can't do it today, know that with consistency and the right guidance, you can build that strength again. You can rebuild the confidence that you won't be stuck, won't need to call for help, and won't have to give up the freedom you've worked so hard to maintain. Next, we'll explore why so many older adults fail these tests, and why the problem isn't your age, but how you've been taught to move. Let's continue with number 4. Why so few seniors can do it, and it's not just age. Number 4, why so few seniors can do it, and it's not just age. Mr. Gerald, a 77-year-old retired accountant from Illinois, had always taken pride in his discipline. He never missed a doctor's appointment, took all his medications on time, and stayed mentally sharp by doing Sudoku every morning. But when his granddaughter challenged him to try the sit and stand test she saw on the internet, he laughed it off until he gave it a shot. To his surprise, he couldn't sit all the way down to the floor without assistance, and standing up again without grabbing a chair was simply out of the question. "I guess that's just what happens when you get old," he said with a shrug. But the truth is, age wasn't the real issue. Gerald's story is one shared by millions of older adults who believe they've lost the ability to move freely simply because of the number of birthdays they've celebrated. In reality, what they've lost is not youth, it's practice. The reason most seniors can no longer stand on one leg for 10 seconds or get up from the floor without using their hands isn't because of aging alone. It's because modern life has quietly removed these movements from daily routine. Think about it. When was the last time you had to squat down low, balance on one foot, or get off the ground without holding on to something? In younger years, these motions happen naturally. Playing with children, gardening, moving furniture, or even just sitting on the floor to read or relax. But over time, as life slows down and comfort takes priority, those physical challenges disappear. And like any skill, when movement is not practiced, it fades. Muscles weaken, joints stiffen, balance declines, and the brain slowly forgets how to coordinate it all. This doesn't mean your body's broken or too old to try. It simply means it hasn't been asked to move that way in a very long time. When older adults fail these mobility tests, it's not a reflection of who they are today. It's a reflection of years of small adaptations. Choosing the elevator over stairs, sitting in soft chairs instead of squatting, or using both hands to push off instead of engaging the legs and core. These shortcuts are comfortable in the moment, but costly in the long term. They signal to the body that strength and balance are no longer needed, and the body responds accordingly by letting those abilities go. Gerald's physical therapist explained it best. "Your muscles don't age the way you think they do. They respond to what you ask of them. If you ask them to move, they remember how." That one sentence changed everything for him. He began with tiny steps, heel raises while brushing his teeth, balancing on one leg while washing dishes, and practicing standing from a chair without pushing off with his hands. None of it was strenuous. None of it required a gym or fancy equipment. But within a month, Gerald found himself moving more easily, feeling more stable, and for the first time in years, hopeful about what his body could still do. What we often mistake for aging is really deconditioning, the slow, quiet loss of strength and coordination from a lack of consistent use. But unlike age, deconditioning can be reversed. The human body is adaptable at every stage of life. It listens, it adjusts, and it responds to movement. You are not too old to regain balance. You are not too weak to rebuild strength. You are not limited by your age. You're only limited by what you believe your body can't do. In the next section, we'll explore which specific muscles matter most when it comes to these movements and why targeting them, even just a few minutes each day, can rebuild not just physical power, but a sense of independence and control. Let's move forward to number 5, muscles that matter. The underrated power of core and hips. Number 5, muscles that matter. The underrated power of core and hips. Mrs. Janice, 75-year-old former piano teacher from North Carolina, always believed that strong legs were the key to staying mobile as she aged. She made sure to walk every day and even use light ankle weights from time to time. But despite her effort, she began noticing that getting up from the couch felt harder. Stepping over curbs made her nervous, and her balance wasn't what it used to be. One day during a gentle exercise class at her local senior center, the instructor asked everyone to place a hand on their abdomen and the other on their lower back. "Now try lifting one foot," the instructor said. Janice lifted her foot and instantly felt her midsection tighten. That's when she heard the words that stuck with her. "Your legs may carry you, but your core controls everything." From that moment on, she realized she had been overlooking the most powerful muscle group for her independence, her core and hips. When most people think about balance or strength, They imagine their arms or legs. But the true foundation of movement, especially in older adults, lies deep in the center of the body. The core isn't just about abs or a flat stomach. It includes the muscles of the abdomen, lower back, pelvis, and even the diaphragm. These muscles work together to keep your torso stable, support your spine, and allow your limbs to move freely without strain. The hips, too, play a critical role. They are the body's pivot point, responsible for shifting weight, absorbing impact, and enabling motion in nearly every direction. Weakness in either the core or hips can make everyday movements harder, less stable, and more risky. When you try to stand up from the floor, sit down without plopping, step over a small object, or balance on one leg, it's not just your thighs doing the work. Your core is keeping you upright, stabilizing your spine, and coordinating the motion. Your hips are providing power and range of motion. And if either area is underdeveloped, or worse, neglected, your body compensates by using other muscles inefficiently, increasing your risk of falls, injury, and chronic pain. This is why so many older adults feel unsteady despite having strong legs. They're missing the deep strength that holds everything together. Janice's instructor began teaching the group gentle core and hip exercises that didn't require lying on the floor or lifting heavy weights. They practiced seated knee lifts, pelvic tilts, bridges on the couch, and side leg raises against a wall. These movements were small, slow, and focused, but powerful. Within just a few weeks, Janice began to feel different. She was rising from chairs more easily. Her posture improved. She could balance longer on one foot and climb stairs with more confidence. What surprised her most wasn't just the physical improvement, it was how much more capable she felt in her day-to-day life. "I feel like I'm driving my body again, instead of just riding in it," she said. The beautiful thing about the core and hips is that they respond quickly to attention, no matter your age or fitness level. And you don't need expensive equipment or long workout sessions to activate them. Just 5 to 10 minutes a day of targeted movement can begin to awaken muscles that have been dormant for years. These exercises not only improve strength and stability, but also help prevent back pain, improve digestion, and make walking, bending, and lifting safer and easier. So if you've been struggling with balance, fatigue, or the fear of falling, consider this. It might not be your knees or ankles that need help. It might be your center. And by strengthening that center, you're not just improving your body's mechanics, you're reclaiming control, stability, and the confidence to move freely again. In the next section, we'll show you how just a few minutes a day of simple, consistent movement can create long-lasting results. You don't need a gym or a trainer, just a little space, a little patience, and the will to keep going. Let's move on to number 6. Daily exercises to improve balance and strength after 70. Number 6. Daily exercises to improve balance and strength after 70. Mr. Samuel, an 81-year-old widower living in a small town in Ohio, had spent most of his retirement years being cautious. After a bad fall 2 winters ago while stepping off a curb, he began avoiding long walks, stairs, and even the grocery store unless someone came with him. The fear of falling had slowly taken over his daily life. What once felt like simple movements, bending to tie his shoes, reaching for something in the cupboard, or getting up from the sofa, now required thought, hesitation, and sometimes help. But one day, while watching a health segment on local TV, he saw a physical therapist demonstrating 3 easy exercises for older adults to improve balance. They weren't complicated or strenuous. In fact, they looked almost too simple. But the therapist said something that stuck with him. The body adapts to what you do every day. A little, done consistently, is better than a lot, done once. That was the day Samuel decided to try. What many seniors don't realize is that balance and strength are not lost overnight, and they don't need to be rebuilt in a gym. The key lies in small daily movement. Just 5 to 10 minutes a day can retrain the nervous system, reactivate dormant muscles, and restore confidence. And it doesn't require fancy equipment or complicated routines. All it takes is commitment and a little space in your living room. Samuel started with something called a sit-to-stand exercise. He would sit down on a firm chair, cross his arms over his chest, and slowly rise to standing without using his hands. At first, he could only do it 3 times in a row, but he made it his morning habit. After a week, he was doing 5, then 10. Next, he tried heel-to-toe walking, placing one foot directly in front of the other, walking slowly along a hallway wall for support. This helped him build ankle strength and improve focus. On days when he felt stronger, he added standing leg lifts, holding onto the kitchen counter and lifting one foot off the ground, keeping it steady for a few seconds at a time. These small exercises became part of his daily rhythm, like brushing his teeth or making coffee. Within a month, Samuel noticed he wasn't grabbing furniture to steady himself anymore. He could step off a curb without panic. He felt stronger in his legs, more upright in his posture, and more in control. What surprised him most was that the fear that had once gripped him so tightly began to fade. He even began walking to the park again, just a few blocks away, but a huge step in reclaiming his independence. These exercises don't just strengthen muscles. They rewire the body's sense of spatial awareness. They teach the brain to react more quickly, the joints to stabilize more efficiently, and the core to remain engaged through every movement. And perhaps most importantly, they restore trust. Trust in your body, in your footing, in your ability to move through the world safely. The truth is, you don't need to spend hours a day to make real progress. You need consistency. Even 2 or 3 targeted exercises practiced for a few minutes every day can result in dramatic improvements over weeks and months. The most important muscle to activate isn't in your legs or your hips. It's your commitment to keep moving, even when it feels small. In the next section, we'll hear real stories from seniors who once struggled to balance, sit, or stand, and who, through these simple daily movements, have regained not only their strength, but their spirit. Let's continue with number 7. Stories of seniors who got stronger after failing the test. Number 7. Stories of seniors who got stronger after failing the test at age 84. Mrs. Ruth had resigned herself to the idea that her best days were behind her. Once a spirited ballroom dancer in her 40s, she now struggled to rise from her favorite armchair without bracing herself on both armrests. She had fallen once in the bathroom the year prior, which left her not only bruised but fearful. Her doctor gently suggested physical therapy, but Ruth brushed it off. What good would it do now, she thought. But when her granddaughter visited and asked her, "Grandma, can you stand on one foot like this?" She tried and lasted barely 3 seconds. That moment stayed with her longer than she expected. Not because she couldn't do it, but because she remembered a time when she could. That same night, she opened her laptop and typed, "How to improve balance after 80." And that small spark of curiosity lit a fire that changed her next chapter. Ruth began with small goals. She followed along to short YouTube videos made for seniors, standing behind the kitchen counter while lifting her heels, holding on to the back of a sturdy chair for gentle squats, and breathing deeply as she practiced sitting and standing with no arm support. She started every morning with 5 minutes of movement. After 1 week, she added another 5. By the end of the month, she had developed a routine that became as natural as brushing her teeth. 2 months later, she returned to the same challenge her granddaughter had given her. This time, she stood tall on 1 foot and counted to 10 with tears in her eyes. It wasn't just her balance that had changed. It was her belief in what her body could still do. Ruth's story is not unique. Across the country, many older adults who once believed they were too far gone have discovered a new strength within themselves. Take Mr. Enrique, age 79, a former machinist who had lost strength in his legs after a long recovery from hip surgery. He failed the sight-to-stand test completely, needing both hands and a push from his son just to rise from a chair. At first, he was discouraged, but a rehabilitation specialist showed him a simple method. Start with higher chairs, then slowly lower the height over time. Combine that with core activation, breathing exercises, and gentle leg extensions from a seated position. With discipline and daily practice, Enrique began standing up with just one hand, then with none. The look on his face when he stood freely for the first time in over a year wasn't just relief, it was pride. And then there's Sylvia, age 76, who had battled anxiety and a fear of falling for nearly a decade. She lived alone, rarely went outside, and often clung to walls when walking through her home. She was introduced to a balance workshop through her church and hesitantly agreed to try. The first day, she lasted only 4 seconds standing on one leg and couldn't get off the ground without assistance. But the instructor didn't let her quit. She gave Sylvia one movement to practice each day and called to check in weekly. Slowly, Sylvia's confidence returned. The day she walked across her living room unaided, she cried not because it was hard, but because she had stopped believing it was possible. These stories remind us that failure isn't the end. It's the beginning of awareness. Each attempt, no matter how shaky, is a message from the body saying, I still want to move. I still want to try. The journey to strength isn't about reversing time. It's about reclaiming your presence in the moment, your ability to move with purpose, and your right to feel capable in your own skin. In our final section, we'll bring everything together. You've seen what these small movements reveal, why they matter, and how you can begin rebuilding strength. But now it's time to ask the most important question of all. What will you choose to do with this knowledge? Let's wrap up with the conclusion. Conclusion. Now that we've reached the end of this journey, take a moment to reflect, not just on the information, but on how your body feels right now. Maybe you've recognized yourself in these stories. Maybe you've tried standing on one foot while no one was watching, or imagined what it might feel like to rise from the floor without using your hands. And maybe, just maybe, you've realized something incredibly powerful. It's not too late. Aging may bring changes, but it doesn't mean giving up. The ability to move with confidence, to stand strong, to stay balanced, these are not privileges reserved for the lucky few. They are skills that can be practiced, muscles that can be rebuilt, and instincts that can be awakened again with consistency, patience, and care. The tests we explored, the one-leg stand, the floor rise, the sit to stand, are not meant to make you feel weak. They are tools to shine a light on what needs attention and what's still full of possibility. We've seen that the reasons most seniors can't perform these movements aren't because of their age, but because no one showed them how to preserve those abilities. Years of sitting too much, moving too little, or fearing injury can lead to slow, silent deconditioning. But the opposite is also true. A few minutes a day of mindful movement can reverse that decline and restore strength you thought you'd lost forever. You don't need a gym. You don't need to be perfect. You only need to begin. Maybe your first try lasts 3 seconds. Maybe you need help getting up. That's okay. What matters is that you try and then try again tomorrow. Improvement doesn't come in leaps. It comes in small, quiet victories. A longer hold, a steadier stance, a deeper breath, a stronger rise from your chair. You've spent a lifetime overcoming challenges, raising families, working hard, surviving loss, building community. The strength that carried you through all of that is still inside you. It's just waiting to be reawakened. So today, stand up, literally and figuratively. Stand for your independence. Stand for your mobility. Stand for the version of yourself who believes that movement is still possible, that health is still within reach, and that your body, no matter the age, still deserves to be cared for. Because only 5% of seniors can do these things now. But with commitment, awareness, and the right guidance, you could be one of them. And when that moment comes, when you stand steady, rise strong, and feel proud of what your body can still do, you'll realize that aging doesn't have to mean losing. It can also mean learning, growing, and reclaiming power you thought was gone. You've made it to the end of this video, but this could be the beginning of something even better. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and haven't yet liked and subscribed, now is the perfect time to do so. It really helps our channel grow and reach more people who need this kind of helpful content. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you'll always know when a new video is up. Your support truly means the world to us. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video.